Yo, what's up, everybody? It is Tuesday, September 24th, and we have a major storm, hurricane, moving in my direction, in the direction of, I'm in Southwest Florida, all along the Gulf Coast of Florida and up into the Big Bend, they call it, and the Panhandle, where that's, I think, where the eye of the storm is probably going to end up, but we're going to get down here, 60, 70 mile an hour tropical storm winds and lots of rain. I've been asking like the locals. I've been down here just since late June. So I've been here like 3 months, going on 4 months. Just all this stuff is kind of new to me. And I went around today asking some of the locals, like, hey, what do you think about this storm? And they're like so nonchalant about it. Like, it's no big deal. But this thing is massive, man. If you go on the National Hurricane Center and look at their satellite images, I mean, this thing is freaking massive. So that's a lot of energy. Right now, it's kind of calm, but it is a little bit breezy. It's still a long way away, but it's a big storm, man, and it's coming this way. So I hope we don't get major power outages. That could happen. I don't have a generator here. That was a plan I had for next year because I looked into getting a generator set up. It's a big project. It involves permitting and all. It takes like 12 to 14 weeks to get the whole thing. You got to have the electric company come in. You got to dig a hole you got to excavate for a propane tank, a 500-gallon propane. I mean, it's a 12 to 14 week project. So I figured I'm going to be through the hurricane season anyway. I might as well do it in the off season, but I'm definitely going to need one down here. There's no question about it. Markets were good today. I mean, we got another record close in the Dow and the S&P, NASDAQ pulling back up, closing in on its record high. It's about 4% below that record high. Yesterday was a 20 billion net drain. So today's price action was actually pretty impressive. And tomorrow we're going to get a Social Security payment. So again, the system is going to be flush with cash. We're going to have a positive day again tomorrow. Remember, folks, it's going to take a little time for the interest income transfers to start to decelerate. I mean, I'm seeing that now if you look at it on a year-over-year percentage basis. And if you look at the T-bill discount, which is going to be, that's the front line. That's the first evidence we're going to see of the slowdown and eventually the contraction year over year in interest income transfers. That is already sloping down or trending down on a percentage year over year basis. On a nominal basis, it flattened out. I mean, all this year up until, I would say, off the top of my head, if I could recall, about May, June, it was in a very strong upward sloping trend, which means those interest income transfers were increasing vis-a-vis last year. So that, the swimming pool analogy again, that water was flowing in at a rapid rate. The level of the pool was rising. And then from May, June on, it is kind of leveled off. So we're not getting any more increase in that level of the swimming pool. And eventually it's going to start to decline. But we're not at that point in time yet, but it's coming. I'm telling you. And again, we had Europe is in a recession. They've had 2 rate cuts. The Chinese, there was a big thing today about China delivers a massive new stimulus. You know what the stimulus was? The stimulus was the People's Bank of China reducing interest rates. So this is happening not just here in the United States, it's happening all over. That interest income transfer that I've been talking about for over 2 years, when that spigot is being turned off. Slowly now, but it's being turned off. It's being turned off here in the United States. It's being turned off in Europe. They had 2 rate cuts. It's being turned off in China with the rate cuts that they're doing. So, I mean, yeah, right now, all the monetarists and everybody else in the media, they're like, rah, 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 because interest rates are coming down. Yesterday I did the video, and I'm still thinking about this because I see and I saw commentary and headlines and articles today online from Fed officials saying we need more rate cuts to ensure the soft landing, right? They always invoke these kind of flowery, terminology, the soft landing, the hard landing, the no landing. It's silliness, but like, I'm thinking to myself, yesterday I said, like, do any of these guys ever study accounting? I mean, because everything, these are people at the highest level of the profession of economics, that they are Fed presidents. I mean, it's really, really unbelievable that their entire analysis is solely focused on the liability side of the balance sheet. That's it. They never, ever talk about the asset side and what the impact of rate adjustments have on the asset side. And I'm thinking to myself, like, do any of these guys, have they ever studied any basic accounting? I mean, I have a degree in economics. I went to an Ivy League school, University of Pennsylvania, and I'll tell you firsthand that accounting was not a required course. It was an elective. So I can speak to this firsthand. I took accounting, but I didn't really pay much attention to it until I got into, later on in life, when I started to learn about MMT and how the monetary system actually works, and have, a not just a broader understanding, but a correct understanding that it's double entry accounting. I've said it so many times. For every debit, there's a credit. For every liability, there's an asset. For every debtor, there's a creditor. But yet, like I said, at the highest level of economics, all these guys, I mean, they're at the top level, either at universities or they're at the Fed or whatever, or they're at Wall Street. I mean, this fixation, it's absolutely unbelievable. Just, nothing but analysis of the liability side of the bank, of the balance sheet. I mean, what is that? Any one of you now, if you haven't been aware of it up until now, and I've explained it to you, you could take Fed policy, monetary policy, and have a better analytical understanding than any of these people, because at least you would be able to say, yes, we hear what these guys are saying in terms of the impact on the liability side, but there's also an impact on the asset side, which is completely ignored in mainstream. I mean, I watch this, I look at this, and it blows my mind. I mean, and they're paraded out there in the media, and they write articles, and they write academic papers, and it is rife with this half analysis. A half analysis. I always call it like the single variable analysis. Their variable is the liability side variable. They never talk about the asset side. They just never do. It's never in the discussion. It's never in the conversation. So it's like, to some of you, it may sound, what I'm telling you, what's going to happen. And it's going to happen. And you might say, well, nobody's saying that, and blah, blah, blah. But, you have to understand that there's an asset side. And there's an impact to that side whenever rates are adjusted. When they're raised, the asset side earns that additional interest income. When they're lowered, the asset side loses that interest income. And like I said yesterday, because everybody knows about the 35, 36 trillion national debt. I mean, that's all we hear about every single day. They've been forecasting disaster from that for as long as I've been in this business, which is over 40 years, okay? They've been back in the Reagan days when it was 800 billion. Now it's 36 or 35, 36 trillion. They were talking about that back in the Reagan days when it was 800 billion. And nothing ever happened. And they don't, and you know, we're what? We're 44 years beyond the Reagan days. And they still don't have an inkling or any kind of desire to kind of figure out or delve into the reason why this hasn't resulted in some kind of gigantic economic implosion that they've been forecasting for the past 44 years. They just don't. They just keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And that's what happens when you only understand one side of the equation. I mean, if you were hip to the fact that there's an asset side, okay, that transfer from the government, yes, the government has the liability side. What is its liability? Basically, its liability is that what is a liability? It's a promise, right? It promises that it will accept its money, the dollar, as payment for taxes. That's the only liability it needs to, make happen. And it can do that. And it has been doing that. In fact, it's the only thing. It's the only way you can satisfy a tax liability to the United States government is with US dollars, with its own currency. So that's the problem. That's what is implied in the debt side. The asset side, all those treasuries, 35 trillion, that's us and the rest of the world who owns that. We're getting the money from that. We're getting the interest income from that. That can't blow up. The only way that could blow up is if the government says, oh yeah, we have to not put those dollars out there. We have to hoard those dollars. We have to take that 35 trillion back for ourselves. Why would it do that? It is the issuer of that currency. And like I just said, the only promise it makes, which is a promise it can always keep, is that it says it right on a dollar bill. Legal tender for all debts, public and private. It's the public word public in there that's important because that's what it accepts for the payment of taxes. That's the liability on the government side. That's what the promise is. For us, it's an asset. So when they cut the interest rates, those 35 trillion of government securities that are owned by us, by the non-government of the world, we lose that income. But you have all these guys on Wall Street and at the Fed and in the media, wringing their hands or saying the Fed has to cut rates some more for a soft landing. Yeah, if the only thing that exists is the liability side for the non-government, then yeah, that's a thing that'll help. But there's an asset side too, which they completely just totally ignore. So it's ridiculous. I cannot believe it. Take a freaking accounting class. God damn it, these people. What arrogance. Anyway, that's it for today. Please like and subscribe. It helps the algorithm. It helps the channel. And don't forget, go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com. Sign up for a 30-day free trial to MMT Trader. I'll have more updates tomorrow here from Southwest Florida on the approach of Hurricane, or right now Tropical Storm Helene, which is going to turn into Hurricane Helene. Bye.